first INet a little bit. So, as you know, INet is an international networking here in New York. It's a support and offer professional development opportunities for international scientists in training in STEM in the New York area, and help community buildings, facilitate connections between international scientists. We have different webinars and research opportunities outside of United States, networking, social events. So they have different mission and activities. The board members of INet are more or less, most of them are scientists from research, all the research institutions in New York. And we are already 900 members. So this is really great for us, from all the countries and from all the institutions here in New York. And if you want to contact with us and follow us in the different social media, you can find us in LinkedIn, in Facebook, in Twitter, and in Instagram. So please feel free to contact us, to send a message about interesting information here in New York. We are really happy to get all that information from you guys. And we have two really cool events in the upcoming next month. In November, we have an event from the bench to consulting. That will be a panel discussion and question and answer with different consultants. And in December, we will have a drug discovery workshop with the MSIK people and STEAMpers. That will be the second annual meeting. And with that, we want also to thank all our INet board members, our advisor board, the co-founders, and all the organizations that have support our events, that they are from everywhere. We are really happy to have them. And with that, if you are interested in contact to us in become a member or apply for the open position, please check our webpage or write us on info@inet.com. And with that, I would like to introduce right now Matteo. It's a pleasure for me to introduce the author of the salmon leaf for PhD. I met Matteo here in INet, so as you see, it's a good place to find and meet cool people. Matteo is a postdoc in Weill Cornell University here in New York, although he has also experience in the industry field. So please tell us about your book, The Salmon Leaf for PhD, and why did you write this book? What kind of things we are going to find in your book? And for the rest of the people, please feel free to ask questions in the chat, and at the end of his presentation, we are trying to answer all your questions. Thank you, Matteo.
Thank you, Conchi, for the nice introduction. Let me just quickly share my screen, and I'll be with you guys really soon. Okay, there we are. I hope you can see it. So yeah, first of all, hi everyone. I'm really excited to be here today. And thanks so much to INet for organizing this, and for the great introduction, of course. Thanks, Conchi. And I just want to introduce myself a tiny bit. I'm Matteo. I'm originally from Italy, and I'm a research scientist here. Nowadays, I work as a postdoctoral fellow here at Weill Cornell Medicine in New York City. And I just want to share a little bit about myself with you, and about my career journey so far, just to get you a little bit of an idea who I am. So after my studies in biology and human nutrition sciences back in Italy, I decided to move to London in 2011, where I actually worked in a private pharmacy for a couple of years. And as I wanted to get a little bit more education, I then applied for a PhD around Europe. And I actually found one at the Medical University of Vienna in Austria. And but just before starting my PhD in 2013, I attended the Jeffrey Molly Foundation lab in Florence, back in Florence. And as I wanted to learn flow cytometry, and routine techniques in the detection of rare pediatric immunodeficiencies. After that, then I then moved to Vienna, and then I started my PhD at the so-called Christian Doppler Laboratory for Cardiometabolic Immunotherapy. And this was a quite interesting setup. So it was a little bit of a public-private partnership with a local biotech as well, which was called, and is still called, Apheris. During my PhD, I studied a cytokine called osteopontin and its role in adipose tissue inflammation and immune cells recruitment within the adipose tissue, and also developing some active immunization against the cryptic region of this protein. After that, basically I moved to another lab within the same institution and started my first postdoc, which was from 2017 to 2019. And there I investigated with colleagues immune cells phenotype and also hepatocellular cells biology in patients carrying a rare genetic variation of the PNPD3 gene called I148M. I also actually investigated the role of monoacylglycerol lipase in liver diseases such as sclerosing cholangitis and NAFLD, so steatosis. And that led me to my second postdoc here, which is since 2019 in New York City. And this one is focused on diet-induced obesity models in mice by knocking down, of course, our general interest in an organ-specific questions fashioned by adenovirus or CRIDOX-P technologies. And I must say, this journey so far has been interesting, but I've been developing, especially in New York City, some interesting expertise outside academia. I, in fact, worked as a part-time consultant for, and then as a team lead for Prescouter. And there I collaborated with projects for big clients such as P&G, Amgen, AbbVie, and Stera. Then I also started volunteering for INet New York City, which I'm really glad of. And it is an international group, as Conchi just explained, that fosters networking and transition topics for PhD. So that was also good. And I'm also volunteering for the National Postdoctoral Association, the NPA, in their outreach committee. And I think all of those experiences got me to my latest side hustle, which is, and it was writing my book, The Salmon Leap for PhDs, and publish it on Amazon. And I can quickly actually paste the link here in the chat, if you give me a second. Or maybe I'll do it in a bit. Let me just, I'll do it later. So, in fact, I believe during the last few years, I realized that a career in academia was probably not for me, as probably many of you did not want to become a PI, right? So you might think that being aware of this is, it was a clear path and clear decision in front of me, but the answer was no. So in fact, I realized how actually little prepared I was for this transition. In fact, I didn't know what kind of jobs I wanted in private, and also did not fully understand, to be honest, what all those complex titles and job titles really meant. So as an example, I could give the quality control, CMC scientist, process development, upstream, downstream. I really, had no idea coming, from a career fully in academia. And on the top of that, I was also, I did not know if I wanted to work fully on, at the bench or not anymore. So I was like, everything was very confusing. So that's why I got a little bit of a wake-up call, and I started attending plenty of career fairs and seminars as well, also through INet. I started also informational interviews with a bunch of people in industry, but also career coaches. And by summarizing all the notes I put together and the knowledge I gained in the past months, I decided to put it together nicely in a little handbook, and on how to prepare scientists for this transition. So, well, that's where I am right now. Understood kind of which kind of direction is good for me, and what kind of companies probably align with my values as well. And I try to adapt and make my resume and cover letter around it, and basically pushing myself out there. And I think I can really guarantee that made a huge difference in my application process overall. So today, what I want to share with you, it's a little bit of a sneak peek into this book. And that will happen. I will go through some advice there inside, and I will hopefully provide some food for thoughts for you guys, and to just think about your next career steps. So I call that 6 key principles that are going to shape your life and career transition. And I believe first and foremost here is the number one, absolutely, it's work on yourself first, and just seek self-assessment and introspection. And with that, I mean, what do you believe you're good at? What are your top interests? And also, what are your key values in life or work? And I think these are all questions you should be asking yourself, especially in the assessment phase when you are at the beginning of that and you don't really know where to go. In fact, I think you believe you'll need these answers to then pinpoint the best career options later on for you. I think a very good way to do that is taking value assessment courses and tests, a personality test, but also talk to people where or have been in your shoes before you and be introspective about it to reach satisfaction in your next steps in your career. I think this will really, it sounds kind of obvious, but it's a really important steps. Number 2, of course, network. I cannot stress enough that. So network, build it before you need it. So, or in other words, how to cultivate meaningful relationship. So it's really important to create new connections and explore career options outside the lab, right? That's absolutely important. And also, you should implement networking in your everyday life and everyday schedule, keeping, of course, a positive and open mindset to that. And as you want to come across as a really interesting individual, you get to enrich yourself with other people's experience as well. And some examples, start volunteering, for instance, like I'm doing for INet and NPA. And also, I believe you get to know so many interesting people that will be a valuable asset for later on, for your present network and also for your future one. I know nowadays is a little bit tricky with COVID and everything, but there's plenty of online events out there that you can attend and follow up with interesting people, actually on LinkedIn, for instance. I also use a tool which is called Lunch Club. I use it quite a lot, actually. And this is an online platform that matches you with other interesting people and also entrepreneurs, to be honest, within your field, but also outside. So I use that to make sure that I speak to new people every week, also in times of COVID, unfortunately. Point number 3, active search into potential career paths. Or my question here was bench or no bench, for instance, which was kind of a huge point for me. And you should, of course, research a job option that is good for you. And by that, you should be finding what career options are outside there, learn it, and the real meaning of also of a job title you're applying for. And once you found one or many, that's really up to you, that they align with your values that we saw, and as we said before, and career perspective, you can craft your search around it. So I'll give you an example here. For me, for instance, I like bench work, but not too much. So to say, I do not like these repetitive techniques such as, I don't know, isolating RNAs from tissue or cells, or cast your own gels for Western blots. But still, I believe I want to, do some percentage of bench work to some extent, say 50%. And I like to occupy the rest of my time in probably presentation, protocol writing, planning experiments or meetings. And I was asking myself, does a job like that exist? Yes. But probably for me, a consulting kind of job is not a good fit because there's no bench at all there. So, it's what also the question, what do you want for yourself? You prefer a totally non-bench job, for instance, such as consulting on venture capital, But the point is, there's so many paths out there that branch off the side of tenure track. I can mention some. There's publishing, industry and biotech, policy making, science communication, medical writing, but also journalism, consulting, venture capital, you name it. It's just so many, and more are popping up as we talk. I mean, if you remember back in the days, also venture capital and consulting wasn't a thing for PhDs, but nowadays is. So the opportunities are really endless, and however, you need to know what you want and where to start looking, right? The point number 4 for me is build your personal brand, and that has a lot to do with your resume cover letter. So you should craft a lean and impactful and also concise application material. You should be checking for spelling mistakes. I know that's annoying, but you should be also adapting your resume or CV slightly each time in order to satisfy the specific requirement for each job. So of course, as everyone says, you should stand out from the crowd by defining your brand and also understanding the market's demands and tailor your message to your future employer. So a long story short, it must be clear from the beginning how you add the value to the position and to the company. This is called your sell sheet. So make it obvious that you spend time studying the job description. I actually personally use a word cloud software to identify the keywords in a required job application. I'll try to then craft my CV around and make it clear that my expertise can add value to the company itself. So I will also give you an example here. It's a little bit embarrassing, but it's a before and after kind of thing. So as you can see on the left is my before CV, before I moved to New York City. I mean, you can tell by yourself, it's a little bit messy. First thing of all, you can see on the top, I wrote curriculum vitae. Of course, I mean, as if it wasn't obvious enough that there was a CV. My name is on the side. You don't really see it. You need to look for it. That's also a no-go. And also the education itself comes first, probably. I mean, that's probably, work experience is more interesting, especially in private. Nothing is justified around the words document. And there are too many underlines, to be honest, from my point of view. And actually also a main point here is like, who cares about my high school diploma here? It's just not an information that it's relevant to apply for, pharmaceutical jobs or other stuff. And the after CV on the right. And so you can see it, I start with my name. It's a little bit better, so they know what I'm called. And the positions also I can fill back here. So I also present myself in the first paragraph, and I also add my skills and the core achievement here. So you can see in 10 seconds if I'm a good fit for the position or not, because I'm already kind of presenting myself where you have all the information really packed up nicely in 2 paragraphs. And I think that's really important to get these well and done well, because anyway, everybody's talking about that your CV gets really few seconds of real attention. So it needs to be clear also without reading it that you put work in it. I mean, also, I'm sure you cannot read really the words, but you can understand slightly the difference between the two. I mean, the style is completely different, and it looks like everything is online and it looks good. So think about it, inform yourself, of course, and the online presence. That's another massive thing, and LinkedIn, it really comes into play here. And it's actually a big part of it. We all know it. I also invite you to connect with me for sure. And I actually wrote an article for INet on their blogs, which is called LinkedIn for Scientists. And I will paste that in the chat as well in a bit when I have access to it. It looks like, I cannot in the sharing mode. So next, number 5, informational interviews. Or in other words, start talking to people in different industries. I know that might be a little bit annoying, but I think it's actually quite fun and it's interesting. So take time to explore informational interviews overall and really get intentional about your job hunt. So speak to people and speak to people that are in the position that you want and ask them what their typical day looks like. Try to get some insights in regards to the company itself and or the company you're interested in. And probably you can ask them also if they're actually recruiting. I think in my point of view, very important is make sure to get the conversation going. And by that, I mean that you should know in advance what you want to get out of the meeting itself. And I would not leave the meeting without knowing whom you are contacting next. So ask for probably a recommendation, of someone that you could speak to and things like that. And I think this one, it's really important to get the conversation going and say, okay, yeah, this person refer me to you because blah, blah, blah. And I think that's quite interesting. And now we get to number 6, which is actual interviews. And the subtitle is Non-Nerdy T-shirts and Dress for Success. And I think it's very important here to be positive overall and honest and prepare your story. I think here it's really important, again, to research and practice a little bit of storytelling around your CV. And this should be done in a way that you should be highlighting your skills and experience that are relevant to the job you're applying for. And just, as a reminder, this is not an exam or criminal interrogation, but just a professional conversation. So just keep it that way. And it's a good practice to steer away from politics, beliefs, or religions, or this stuff. And as a good sign that you did your homework, I will take a notebook with you if you're having a very rare in real life chat, and be prepared to ask what the next steps are, of course, thanking them for their time at the end of the interview. Also, if you're having a Zoom interview that nowadays is a little bit more common, I would recommend you to dress well still and show an open body posture and smiling at the camera always. So that also makes a difference. Although you're not in real life, a person can also appreciate that through a camera. Another important part of that is, of course, negotiating your salary once you receive an offer, but this is, of course, very important, but it's covered in more details in the book as well as everything we talked about today. So to wrap up here, I just wanted to say, let's face it, as PhDs, we really struggle so much to convey our value many times. And the whole process of hunting a job outside academia can be stressful and time consuming, I know, and the whole thing could take up to 6 months. And my book, The Salmon Leap for PhDs, will advise you on that and on how to swim in different waters, but also that you can learn how to do so comfortably and play your cards the very best you can. So I recommend you to become a career hopping creature and start swimming upstream, a career journey that you can be proud of. And I think with that, I thank you guys very much for your attention. I'm very happy to take any questions you might have. And I will post the link, as I said, the 2 links I was talking about. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Matteo. We have a couple of questions, and please feel free if you are more interested and you have more questions to write them in the chat. So
quickly post also the article I was talking about, so guys can
I already put the link to your book.
Then I can just post the article on INet. I think that's a really a useful one to start into your LinkedIn. Yes, if you guys don't have it yet, there you go.
Yeah. So let's see. First question from Erin Thomason: how to meet people who are working in your target field, and if any tips for a cold emailing?
That's a very interesting one. Of course, yeah, it's a little bit the cold email through LinkedIn is a little bit of an interesting one. So I'm sure you would like to ask these people and a bunch of questions and perhaps even a job as far as I understand on LinkedIn, but my advice there is trying to break things down a little bit and try to put things in a way that's small and manageable questions. For instance, you should explain why this person is the best one to address the question you wanna have, or is the best one you wanna meet to network with. And of course, also in the cold emailing, you should mention a little bit of a background and the context to add a little bit of a personalized touch there. So I never add people on LinkedIn without, sending a personalized text as well. I think a very bad example here would be like, how do I find a job in your company or something like that? Yeah, some stuff like that. But that's what I would recommend. So try to, break things a little bit small and measurable questions. These people don't have like plenty of time most likely, and try to, add a little bit of a personal note to that.
So following up this, I will ask you one question.
Yeah.
So do you think that the best way to contact people that are outside of academia is using LinkedIn, for example? Or did you
I think LinkedIn is a very powerful tool for us if used well, of course. And I think that's a good way, as I said before, just cold emailing, but with a little bit of thinking behind it. And LinkedIn is actually amazing. I got to know so many people through that, and also I chatted. And you'll be surprised that people just want to help. They will be like, yeah, I'll spare some time with you, and we have a chat. We have 30 minutes chat, and it's a kind of a relationship, like mentor-mentee relationship, will come on the way, I believe, and then. It's just probably you never meet these people in person in your life, but you'll be grateful, to them, and you stay in touch along your career journey later on. So I think LinkedIn is a very interesting tool for that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And other question, how to answer a question during an interview that it's what are your weaknesses? That I think really want.
Well, that's the stuff that I was telling you about before. So what I did, for instance, with my CV, what I do each time, basically I break down my CV in different kind of categories, and I try to storytell around my experiences. Because, for instance, I'm like, okay, yeah, I've been working on a diet-induced obesity model on this protein or gene, blah blah blah, and I found out that. So, I mean, it doesn't really, it doesn't really convey much. It doesn't really, not a lot comes through. So I think it's really important to storytell around it in such a way that I think you need to like step back and get into this storytelling framework, to be honest. And for each experience you have, you should be having like a beginning in which you got the challenges you faced, and a middle in which you're like, okay, what actions were taken, what was the troubleshooting, and the end of this, which was the outcome, what the outcome was. And I think if you kind of frame the answers also to such difficult questions as well in such a way, I think they're a little bit more like rather appreciated, and as people get also the background and the full package of it. So I think that's one of the questions that, of course, people should actually prepare for before an interview. One of the many.
Okay, cool. And other person asked, Esther, where can we go for one-to-one career advice?
One-to-one career advice. I think, for instance, there's a one-to-one event actually happening right now, if not tomorrow, organized by MSKCC. And that's a really cool one, for instance, that you guys should explore. But also, I think in my experience also, lunch clubs were actually very interesting. So you meet, again, these people one-to-one in a talk for 30 minutes, and they're strangers, most likely. And sometimes they're not in your field, but that's not too bad, because sometimes you get other perspectives, towards your role as well. I know a little bit. There's a bunch of websites as well. I believe Smart Tribe as well has it. So they organize this kind of mentor-mentee kind of programs, and you can connect with a mentor if you're a mentee and have a little bit of a chat over your expertise and things. And I believe that honestly helps quite well. I'm not sure, like online stuff. I can't really recall any other things apart from Lunch Club, I would say, and Smart Tribe, absolutely, which is more actually specific to the academic field.
Cool. And how can you figure out what you really want to do if you are not sure about it?
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit complicated. I think, I don't know, the value assessment part, I think it's really, really, really important. And it was really important for me because it's also like you're faced with these amount of job opportunities that you partially understand sometimes. And because honestly, they didn't prepare us well with that. I mean, if you think about it also with our academic career, mostly you get in touch with people that they've been always in academia. So they would not know much on how to mentor you outside the lab, so to say. So that's a little bit, that's something I think we should work towards with new, career development plans and stuff. And I think here in New York City, people are doing it very well, at least in the I area as well, for instance, that I know personally. But in regards to these, what do I want to do next? Surely the career, the value assessment is a very good one. So I think need to understand first what your skill set are and what you're good at, pretty much. I recommend you, I think many people are recommending this, but I would say it again. There's my IDP, this individual development plan from Science Careers. That it's really useful. So you come up, you put on your skills, what you like and whatever, and you find out different career options there for you. And that's really cool. But what I can tell you, I think that's the classic kind of advice. But on a side, what I can tell you is that I really enjoyed card games, for instance. And there are a lot of card games and decks available in within career as well. One of them that I can recommend is called Career Therapy. And it's made by these guys called the School of Life. And I've been playing with that, and you get these cards with a little bit of a background, and they ask you like really to the point questions, and you're like, oh, okay. Now, a question could be, for instance, what happens if you don't leave your job tomorrow? What's the career prospects you have? Or like really to the point question that really force you to be thoughtful about it, that really think about your next career steps. And this I find really, really interesting, actually. I actually bought it in Boston at the Institute of Contemporary Arts, but they're available online. They're called School of Life. They have these career therapy cards, but also they have these know yourself cards for self-exploration. I think that's very cool. And you can also play with friends and things, which of course open connections and whatsoever. But I think these prompt cards are really important, or these other individual development plans are really important to get a feeling of what you think you're good at, your values as well, and how they could align to a prospective kind of career journey for you. I think that's really the most important part. We really undervalue that, but I believe that's very important.
That is really great. And do we have all this information in your book? Or
Yeah. I actually put most of it in my book. Apart from the My IDP, I also mentioned the cards. If I find the link, I'll link it to you. They're quite funny.
Okay, thank you. Salwa explained the situation that they have done the PhD in biology from Malaysia and looking for opportunities in pharmaceutical and how to explore the practical side of drug development, but he don't have any industry experience and hence is not getting a positive response. I think this is something happened to all of the people are working in academia and they don't have any experience in industry. Absolutely. So what should they do in such a scenario? Should they go for internships or apply for a bachelor level position in industry or other recommendations?
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if you should apply for a bachelor position in industry. No, that's not a good idea. You have a PhD in biology, so you should be, you should be working with that. I know sometimes it's a little bit difficult, but I'm sure that you can work on highlighting these skills a little bit more. I know if you want to probably go into drug development and you don't have experience with it, that of course it's a little bit complex. But what I can tell you is that there are lots of online courses of drug development courses. They're also for free, some of them. Some are also offered by some universities here. San Diego, for instance, University of California, San Diego offers that. It's just a course, focused on drug developments of small molecule. So that could be, for instance, an interesting one. I think, yeah, this is something that you could do, just get a little bit more education towards that. But also, it's good to look into your the conferences and stuff organized by your institution. For instance, I know that for the 3i landscape, they have a drug development plan course and stuff that you can actually attend, or some other lectures about it. So to get a little bit of more of a better idea of what it's been talked about. But on the other hand, it's also sometimes a good idea, depends on your PI, to talk to them and just come up with the fact that you want to do a transition towards industry, and if there's any way that you can gain some transferable skills within that. So I know, for instance, a colleague that's for him it was clear since from the beginning that he wanted to get an industry job, and he was given a drug discovery actually project. So it was really good for him, I think.
Okay. Someone asked that if I think they missed the first part about your introduction. Yeah. So if you can briefly talk about your current job and your difference between the academia and industry. And I was also included that where are you right now in your career transition?
Sure. Absolutely. So they missed a little bit the first part. Yeah, but right now, as I said before, I'm doing this postdoc at Weill Cornell Medicine, and also on the side, I've been exploring other career paths, such as consulting a little bit, at least part-time, and also by volunteering for different associations, including INet. I just got to know how to leap into other industries as well, and what's out there waiting for us, to be honest. Because when I came here, I literally had no idea about it. I mean, I really did not know anything else other than R&D scientists in industry, to be honest. And there's so many, studying for MSL, process development people, everything that you can actually explore, and I had no idea about. So I think all these extracurricular, so to say, activities really help me out in trying to understand what else is out there for us. And to the question, where am I, in my career transition? Yeah, I'm at the moment, I see myself as probably an R&D scientist in biotech company, and I'm working towards that for sure. And it's, let's say all these things, steps along the journey as well, they really, so to say, help me to like laser focus my energies towards that, and trying to understand what I really liked and what I really wanted for the next career step. Yeah.
Great. Marta asked you if are there some career development course inside of our institution that you can suggest us?
I know there's a what do you mean by career development? Like also a master's degrees or something? I know that there's one offered by Cornell in translational medicine, I believe. But Rutgers, for instance, they have a full Master of Science on drug discovery, actually. It's 2 years, and it's, as far as I understood, fully online. So there's just if you look out there, there's a bunch of stuff, and you can actually start with a little bit of possibly with a little bit of free course on Coursera or edX, for instance. There's a very good one they also attended about medicinal chemistry that I had no idea about before, and the course was really amazing, actually. And for being, free, you get so much knowledge out of it. So I think I'll definitely recommend that. But in terms of courses and stuff, apart from the regular events that we are also hosting, there's also a bunch of other things like postgraduate courses, also Master of Science, you name it. It's there's so much out there.
Great. Let me ask you a question about the interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any like examples about the interviews in your books? Like means questions that people can ask when they're in an interview, talking about the salary or the qualities or the difference between one work to other, all that kind of stuff that people can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the part of the storytelling, which is a must, as I said before. And it gets, I don't know, it gets the conversation a little bit going. And you really get used to the facts of giving a little bit of a background before about yourself and then jump into details. So I think that's really good, and you should work towards your previous experience with that. But also within the book, I also describe a little bit of soft skills that the most of employers are looking for. And we all know about it, but there's a little bit about that. And I also try to explain how to work on them or towards them, and also the do's and do nots staple while interviewing, actually. So there's a lot towards that direction as well. Yeah, I would say there's quite a bit of stuff covered over there. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And Mott asked, what platform should we use to find a job? There's LinkedIn or others, but LinkedIn is good for contact and also for jobs.
Yeah, LinkedIn is absolutely amazing for to find a job as well. And it's funnily enough, the more active are you on the platform, the more kind of inbound opportunities come. A lot of recruiters just get in touch because you just come up in the search engine because you're just so active in interacting with that. So what I can suggest with LinkedIn is really, get down to that. Just fill up your profile, put a professional picture which is decent enough, and you're not together with your dog or with a flatmate, or you are in a pub or whatever. So try to keep it really professional with that. And also, once you have all your parts and things really filled out, it's good to explore a little bit of your interests and what you want to write about and what you want to create contents on. And once you become active a bit in that, it really helps out. So you get to connect with a lot of people. You get to talk also with new people as well. So I think if you invest a little bit of time in LinkedIn, I think it pays back quite a lot. And I think for us scientists, it's a little bit of a tricky one, because I see, like, I can tell you probably, I don't know, like 20% of my colleagues really have a LinkedIn profile, which is good or bad, I don't know, but they prefer to like have a ResearchGate profile in which they probably showcase their papers and stuff, which I get. It's nice, but if you wanna, you know, bridge into industry, that's not gonna help. Nobody's gonna look into your ResearchGate. Nobody knows about ResearchGate, right? Apart from us, probably. So it's I think it's very important to get together like a nice LinkedIn and a nice online presence there. Absolutely.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. For me, last question in my case, because I saw that you saw a list of the different jobs outside of academia. Usually when you are in academia, at least in my case, sometimes you don't know that exist and specific jobs. So do you have a list like special or different jobs outside of academia that we can find in the book and explain what means this job? What kind of things do you need to do it to get that position?
Absolutely. Funnily enough, I have a full chapter on that. I really believe that it's so important to make clarity here. I think, like, as I said, like personal experience again, I just had no idea whatsoever what was out there. So in the book, I explain really in detail a bunch of roles. And I go through, for instance, manufacturing scientist, process development, a clinical research associate. I didn't even know they existed. The application scientist also is a little bit of a weird in between kind of role that I did not really understand before. The classical medical science liaisons, which is also has got a little bit of stereotype around, and so on and so forth. So that's this is a tiny bit. There's a full chapter on it. It's really well covered. And what I thought I was kind of interesting was dividing them bench and non-bench. So of course I also describe venture capital, about consulting and all these things. But I thought for clarity for myself as well, it was important to divide these groups in two. So you also kind of understand if what's out there, you know, outside the bench work and wet lab.
Great. Sophia asked, what is your knowledge of publication requirements when transitioning? Because jobs often ask for a record track of research success, but the lack of such is often what really pushed one to transition.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a tough one. I mean, many people say it's not really important to show publications. Other people say it's really important. I mean, to be honest, in my point of view, is that you're just showing that you get things done, right? So you're really showing that you can take care of a project from the beginning to the end. So I think that's kind of important. It's kind of a nice thing to have. Of course, it's not, I guess, as important as going towards independent and tenure track, as you probably would need this publication to write your grants and get basically funded there. But yes, a little bit of publications actually help, because again, you're really showing that you're really you just to the point, so you're able to begin and end a project, which is nice.
Thank you so much. And Kashuri, it's only a reference about your book that the chapter that you talked before really helped him in narrowing down the careers preference. So that is great.
That's really nice. Yeah, as I said, a little bit of clarity there was really needed. I think I just, it's just not, nobody tells you that. I don't know why. It's just not out there. So it's really difficult to understand, I think.
Yeah. Lori asked, because this is INet, so international networking. So seems easier to transition from academia to other types of jobs here in United States. But what do you think about doing that in Europe, where we usually need to get another degree? Do you think that it's best to get first experience in the United States and then try to move to Europe? Or what is your recommendation?
I see, I see, I see. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Of course, I think in Europe, it's not really so different in comparison to here. I mean, we have a lot of biotechs and stuff, and a lot of big pharmas, and I think they really appreciate the fact that you're applying from the States or this kind of stuff. I think on your CV, it's really standing out the fact that you've been studying here or you've been working here, because everybody knows that the working culture here is like so different from European countries, of course. So I think it's not really a problem there. It of course helps to get a first-hand experience here in private if you can, because opportunities are really different here. I mean, it's just so much here, much more than in Europe. But the application process is not really a trouble, I think. I've been also interviewing with many biotechs in Europe, and it's actually fine. It's not. I think they really appreciate the fact that you can adapt to a new environment really fast. You're really kind of fast-paced kind of guy, and I think that really helps, to be honest. And you can really stand out in comparison to other candidates.
Great, thank you. And Kashuri, talk about the question that we talked before about the publication that said that it's rarely see publication being mentioned in the resumes. So how to use that publication in the resumes? As means like transferable skills, or in which part of the resume should be?
That's a very nice question. I think first of all, starting with the resume, I think it should not be like more than 2 pages. So you cannot really attach your full list of publications there. So what I do, for instance, in my CV is that I put the publications at the end, and I put the numbers of publications, and I can reference a PubMed link if they want to look me up. But I mean, that's so easy anyway, and that's gonna be, probably not the first thing they do, but in like other steps of the interviews, they will check you up on PubMed. That's obvious. So I think in my CV, for instance, there's whatsoever no mention of any publication. They're not listed. There's just a number of publications and my personal link to PubMed that you can check up, because there's already so much work experience that you want to cover, a lot of like actually hard skills and soft skills that you wanna really talk about there. So I think there's not really space for that, for a full list of pretty much meaningless publications, unless of course published in Nature. But this you can anyway kind of mention it in the publications. So I published in this and that journal, this amount of publications, see my link, whatever. But I would not attach a full list of publications. It's not an academic CV, no.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, because you answered all the questions that our friends have. So only to finally, where we can find your book? And, yes.
Yeah, well, it's on Amazon, as I said. Yeah, it's on there. I can.
And are you planning to write another book now?
That's a good one.
To write?
That's a good one. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think. Let's see. I believe this one it's well perceived for now, and I have another little project in mind, something a little bit more different, but I cannot anticipate much about it, let's say. But let's see what future brings. I think it will be interesting to just dig deeper a little bit into that. I think like writing about other people's experience a little bit more will be interesting, because I think in this first book, I really wanted to cover the basic of career transition, and it was more like towards covering really I don't know, just the basic steps with that, and just to offer like a tool for people to think about their career steps and how to perfectionate, kind of application materials, how to understand their ways and stuff. So I think this was more like a non-fiction kind of interesting, to the point, really a lot of bullet points and stuff that really think make you think about your career step and make you, you know, kind of act towards that. And I think the next project will be most likely something where I really involve more people and people that, so to say, made it, and take a little bit of you know, some takeaways from that. I think that would be really nice, and that would be really like a learning point for everyone here. So that would be, I think, more into that direction. If that's a sequel, if there's a number 2 book.
Wow, sounds really cool. We will be waiting for that.
Eagerly waiting for that.
Thank you so much, Matteo, for this really nice talk and to explain your book. And thank you, everybody, for coming. We hopefully see you in the next event of INet. And good night, everybody.